Well, I know you remember Christy because you've been on the show so much, and we really are thankful that you come on because escrow is a big blur to most people, and it's totally out of the realm of the norm for most people. So they're kind of confused, right?
Yeah, I'm glad that we could shed a little bit of education and help people through transactions.
Good, and that's what you do. And you're an independent third party, so that means you just represent the deal, right?
Yes.
No buyer, no seller, no realtor here, no realtor there. You just represent the deal and keep it on track, honest, clean, the whole thing, right?
Yep.
So I have some more questions for you. Here's one about powers of attorney. When can you use powers of attorney, and what kind of powers of attorney do you typically see?
Okay, so in a real estate transaction, we do have to have specific to the property. We cannot have a durable power of attorney unless it specifically says it's for that property. And those are rare, but I mean, I have seen them, and again, rare. But when you're buying or selling a property, you want a specific to that property. If you know you're gonna need one and you're selling the transaction, I could prepare one for you and you could use it when you sign your contracts and your listing. And that's only as an individual.
Okay.
If for some reason you own the property in a trust, you have to look at the trust and see who the trustee is. So if, let's say it's your wife and husband, and the husband's gonna be out of the country, he still needs to sign, or he has to resign as a trustee of that trust. I know a lot of people have power of attorneys in trust, but mostly those are for medical reasons and other financial reasons. But real property, typically 99.9, I have seen one, but they do not let a power of attorney be used in a trust. So the trust will call out what happens if you can't sign, or two people can't sign. Then the successor trustee usually signs, or something else has to happen. Whatever the trust says is what we do. We follow.
Right.
But yeah.
That's kind of important, right?
Yeah.
Follow their trust.
Yeah, and that's what people get trust for, is because it says what happens to me if I pass away or if I'm unable to sign, who gets to sign on my behalf. The whole point of drawing a trust is, to stipulate who you want to act on your behalf, especially with your properties or your assets.
Right. Well, it's protection.
Yeah, it's protection. But the power of attorneys, they need to be specific, and not only that, they need to be within 6 months of the transaction.
Oh, yeah, half of people's powers of attorneys were signed 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, and title wants a recent one because things could have changed. Let's say you gave me a power of attorney and trusted me with your life 10 years ago, but you don't really trust me now, and I'm selling your houses for you.
Right, right.
So I think that's why title wants them within a certain amount of time, because they want to make sure they still have the power to sell it for them. But yeah.
Good. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And solar can bring up problems in an escrow, can't it? Because
solar, depending on what type of solar, if you have a lease solar, the solar company will record a UCC financing against the property, and when you sell it, title's going to need to remove it, transfer it to the new owner. Sometimes people get a loan against solar and there's a lien that needs to be paid off. But let's just say they don't want to pay it off. The buyer's going to assume the loan. There's a bunch of different solar contracts out there, and 50% or more properties that I have in escrow have those, and every single solar company has a different protocol. Sometimes they want it transferred after the close. Sometimes I need to get the paperwork to do it during the close. And again, sellers need to know what they have on their house so they can give it to me, their agent, the buyer, make sure we transfer it properly.
Every once in a while you get somebody who actually buys their solar power, and then you don't have that issue.
No, those
it's
are
only
the best.
when you have a loan. Those are the best. Whenever anybody says, oh no, we already own it, I'm going, thank God.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and sometimes you still need to transfer it, just like a utility bill. You still need to transfer it, and the solar company needs both buyer and seller's contact through escrow, so that way they can get them the new contract so they know what they're obligated to when it closes. So there's still things that need to be done, but they're not as difficult as if they lease it and it's recorded on the property.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then those lease ones, they can just come and take them away.
Yeah. I know that some of the
with the holes, you got holes in your roof. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, you need to read the contracts when you
really
get solar.
Right. Okay, here's a good one. There are numerous amounts of ways to hold title, and I know that I just got that securities license. Remember last year I had to pass 3 exams, and I was talking about DSTs, which is really another way of owning properties, a DST. So maybe you can talk about, not DSTs, because that is, because you don't know about them, but you wouldn't have to.
Yeah.
Half of the people I took the securities license from didn't even know what a DST is. Go figure.
So holding title is how you're going to own your property, how you're going to vest. Investing means you need to, if I'm a single woman, never married, I need to have a vesting with my name, my legal name that's on my driver's license, and a vesting. So if I'm a single woman, never married, that's my vesting if I want to hold title as a single woman. If I'm a married woman, I could hold title as a married woman, but I also have to have my spouse, if I'm going to, he has to sign off interest saying this is her sole and separate, I don't have anything to do with it, and he has to sign an interspousal deed, so there's another way. There's also husband and wife as joint tenants, so you could hold it together as husband and wife, and that means if joint tenants is if something happens to my husband, then I get to sell the house without having to go through probate, and all the interest automatically transfers to me. I have to do a couple things with title, with affidavit of death, but that would all go to me. But if I did community property, then that 50% is his community, and then my 50% is my community, and then his needs to go to a probate, so that way maybe he had kids before me, can get that interest. So the best, there's no best way to hold title. You need to really know what tax benefits you, and I couldn't advise you on that, but there's maybe like 10 different ways you can hold title, depending on your situation, but most common is joint tenants for a husband and wife.
Right.
Single, and if you're a divorce, you have to put unmarried. Even if you're single, you have to put unmarried on your vesting versus single, or a widow, or they all have different meanings to them, but you could really mess up your title if you do it wrong. It could cloud the title if you do not have your husband sign off on the interspousal deed. When you go to sell later, title's not going to let you sell until he signs off on it. If you put nothing at all, if you just put husband and wife, and you don't put a joint tenants community property with right of survivorship, then something happens to him. What is title going to assume? That it was his community property? It was joint tenants?
Yeah.
It was whose property was this? So it can get a little ugly if you don't do the right deeds.
Or you can hold it in a trust.
Or
an LLC.
Or an LLC.
Yeah, a lot of people hold property in trusts and LLCs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot.
Yeah, the best is
I
think
hold
the
all
trust.
my properties in trust.
Yeah, the best way to hold a property is in a trust, because if anything happened to you or whoever the signer is, it goes to the beneficiaries of your trust, and the next people could sign on behalf of it. It's the safest way. For probate, for clouding title, it's just the easiest way.
Well, probate is expensive. So you never want to have to go through probate. You always want to have a trust, because a will does not preclude.
No, you still have to go to probate. It might be a little bit easier, but not really.
Not really. And attorneys charge like 10% of the value of the estate. So that can be a big chunk. So I would say the one thing you don't want to do is, the one thing you absolutely do want to do is have it in a trust, if at all possible, because that protects you from probate fees.
Yeah, and it protects your assets.
Right.
Why buy a house if you
You're
die
not
and then
protected,
it goes
right?
to who does it go to?
Yeah,
you have 18 brothers. You need to know.
Oh, that would be a lot.
No, I'm just saying you have a lot of people that are trying to and not only that is once people die, people come out of the woodwork and try to like try to get your property.
That's the reason you have it in a trust.
Yes,
It's
you just-
protected.
It's good for you, good for everybody involved.
Right, right. Well, Christy, unless you have something else you want to mention, I mean, you come across so many issues in escrow. I know. I mean, like for me, I'll be chugging along in real estate, and then something happened. I never thought that could happen, right?
No, every transaction is different. So the clients are different, the agents are different, and no two things are the same. So I could have a smooth deal, and the next deal, things can come up. People can go out of the country, and I can't get a signature, or there's a fee that comes up on an HOA doc or a violation that comes up when I get the HOA docs, and we have to address it, and it kind of puts a damper on the transaction. But what if I didn't notice that? And then, so I have to look at every page that comes through, and I just am sometimes the bearer of bad news, like, oh, did you know your HOA dues went up to $900 and they used to be $400? Or, did you know you had a violation from 3 years ago? And the seller's like, no, I didn't even know. Because when you go into escrow, you start getting disclosures from everyone. The title report, you got to review it. The HOA docs, got to review it. The contracts, you got to review it. And it does. A lot of things come up. The lender, at the very end, they need another appraisal. And so my job is just to keep the information flowing to the agents and the clients, so that way we could resolve it and close on time, or figure out where our next plan of attack is. We're a team. All parties.
We all work together.
Are needing to, but it's very important to pay attention to the contract, to the disclosures that I get, and so nothing falls through the cracks. Yeah. I did have one fall through the cracks, not on my end, but the seller didn't know they belonged to 2 HOAs, because she was signing on behalf of her mother in her trust, because her mother was in a home.
Oh boy.
And so she thought it was a membership to
the clubhouse.
It's Lake Mission VA home.
Oh, she thought that was fun, just a membership.
Well, it was the daughter, and she was just signing the paperwork, and then I get a call from the HOA and said, oh, did you do this transaction, because I didn't get any paperwork, and so I called the seller because they didn't put anything anywhere. She's like, I thought it was just like a clubhouse. Yeah, it wasn't like an HOA. So we had to resolve it after the close. But I mean, you look. I have papers that say how many HOAs do you have, and you have to fill it out.
There's a question. Yeah, but daughters aren't going to know that.
Yeah,
half the time the sellers don't know.
No, and it was just one of those weird situations that she didn't know, and luckily everybody understood and got it done. But yes, it is a lot of different things you have to worry about.
Okay, well, thanks again for
You're
coming,
welcome.
and I know you'll be back soon.
I can't wait for the
year.
year.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.